Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my personal week 37 update for all of you on my Zepbound journey. There's a few things to hit this week. I'm going to keep it very short, simple, and sweet for all of you. We will hit a few of the key notes that are in the news this week, and I hope everyone had an amazing Halloween. Let's go ahead and get started. I will go through my week 36 results first because I feel like that has really gone over really well, especially for the people who don't care about what's going in the news. They really just want to follow my personal journey and where I'm at in this. So my week 36, I am now back to the weight that I was 2 weeks ago. So if you recall, I said that I had gained like 4.4 pounds just all of a sudden, and then now I am right back where I was before that. So I have yet again kind of gained around 4 pounds on my Cosentyx injection week or my cycle week, which this seemed to happen to fall kind of almost with both. And then all of a sudden it comes right back off and then I'm leveled back out. However, for the entire week of October, this is the number that I sent over to my Weight Watchers Clinic specialist, and my doctor reviewed it, as well as kind of the up and down that I did throughout both September and October, which were the 2 months that I was on the 7.5 milligram. Overall, she basically said it was in her kind of opinion that based on me just kind of teeter-tottering back and forth again, like I did on the 5 milligrams, she felt like it was time for me to progress to the 10 milligrams. I did a lot of thinking about this. I took about a week to really consider what that meant, how I really didn't want to progress to the 10. I'm like the queen of like digging in and staying. But I agreed to go ahead and move to the 10 milligrams. So for this week, I will show you my 7.5 milligram injection. That will be my last 7.5 milligram injection. I have already picked up my 10 milligram. It was literally ready same day for me, which has been my experience for the past 5-6-ish months. I personally have not had any issues whatsoever at any of the levels, except back when the shortage first began and they were only producing the 2.5 milligrams. At that time, then I was still obtaining my 2.5 milligrams without really having any trouble, mainly from the warehouse stores. So my suggestion would be, if you are having trouble with some of your local, CVS, Walgreens, Kroger, grocery store, Walmart, wherever it is you are picking up your prescription, I really highly suggest trying out the warehouse centers like Sam's. I've heard a lot of people being able to obtain that. And again, please comment down below. Everyone is kind of very hush-hush about whether or not they're able to obtain their medicine lately because of all the shortage questions that are going on and concerns and things like that. I also, as you all know, have rotated back off of the Linzess, and I'm on Trulance now, which is the original medicine that my internal medicine doctor gave me. I'm trying to find a new GI specialist. My GI doctor is out on maternity leave now until sometime in February. And so I kind of want to have a backup one. I've talked to a couple of my friends who have told me a couple of good names to try at some other facilities. But as usual, where I live, it takes 3 to 6 months to get in to see any doctor, and specialists are even like harder to get into. So if I do get a new GI doctor or anything like that changes, I will let you know. I'll know that as well. I went to Vegas this past week. That's why I'm a little bit behind on everything, basically, because as soon as I came back from Vegas with just myself and my husband going and having just a fantastic time, basically, then I got hit. Like, I feel like I've been slapped in the face because I had 2 school Halloween parties like back to back, and I'm just like pouring sweat all over at both of them, just trying to make sure that kids are like fed and happy and good to go, right? And then the very next day I also worked the picture day at the school. They also wanted to do interviews with me and further my interview process this entire week as well. So I've had that. Plus next week I have things as well. And my kids are off school for 2 days next week. So I am behind. Okay. So I apologize that I'm a little bit later this week. This next week you will see my 10 milligram injection, like I said, and then we will progress from there. I am expecting to have some type of side effect, whether it be the nausea, vomiting, furthering constipation, anything like that. I have been taking my Viome right back here basically religiously since I got back from Vegas. And so I've not, knock on wood, had any constipation issues, switching to the Trulance and then also being a little more religious with my Viome supplements and fiber that is in there. So right now, I feel like I'm kind of back where I started, back at even, and then we will progress to the 10 milligrams. So now it's going to be a very short GLP-1s in the news. This week on October 30th, the FDA decided to remove semaglutide from the shortage list. I'm sure everyone here already knows that. I'm behind, right? I was waiting to see if they were going to also place the semaglutide over onto the list, which is the DDC list that Novo Nordisk had already submitted to. I'm like really watching to see what happens with that because I'm extremely curious. But I do find it very interesting that they almost kind of doubled down with this, where they did what Eli Lilly did in removing themselves from the shortage list, but they are also taking it even a step further. And I have seen on quite a few different forums, I don't know how true it is. I have not seen the actual paperwork submitted, like the 50-page document that I went over last week with Novo Nordisk. But I'm told that Eli Lilly has basically the exact same formulation of a paper that they can submit as well to get Tirzepatide over onto that same DDC list as well. If I find it, or if someone sends it to me, because I have a fun Australian friend who sends me many things that she digs up. If I find that, I of course will go over that with you all as well. I typically read through it, and then what I do is I try to break it down for everybody in more simple terms where everybody can understand it, because a lot of the language is just very overwhelming and long, right? Of course, with semaglutide being removed from that shortage list, Hims and Hers is in the news with their stock going down because this was huge for them. What was really funny is the entire time I was in Vegas, every other commercial on TV in our room, my husband and I were cracking up laughing, was either for some type of little blue pill or a GLP-1 compounded drug. There was a lot of billboards all over Vegas that were for the exact same things as well. So it's not just Hims and Hers that are kind of capitalizing on this. There are so many platforms that are capitalizing on compounds right now. All of them are kind of having to like shift and pivot and turn and figure out what they're going to do and watch the news just like the rest of us are, and watch what the FDA's decisions are, just to try to figure out what is their next step or what is their next path forward in this. Specifically with the FDA's decision around kind of revisiting their decision with the removal of Tirzepatide. That is really, I believe, the first time that the FDA has ever kind of stepped back and said, okay, we'll rethink what we're doing, instead of just continuing to blaze forward. That also was mentioned in the news this week as well. Another company coming up with great stock prices right now, and I've talked about them before in the past, is Viking Therapeutics. We talked about the amylin-based drugs from multiple different companies right now, because this was one of the drugs, the amylin-based weight loss medicines were the ones that I said, if the GLP-1s don't work for you, because there's a lot of people that Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound, or any of the compounds, are not working for them because the GLP-1 or the GLP-1 and GIP are just simply not working with their body. The amylin-based drugs are the ones that then those patients can progress over to see if maybe that works. And I've compared this a lot in the past to kind of my rheumatoid, the arthritis, my AS, my autoimmune disease type drugs. I had to start with Humira, show that it did not work before I could kind of progress really to the Enbrel. And yes, of course, that's an insurance-based thing because they do what they do, like tiers with these drugs, typically based on like how expensive they are, right? So I had to start with Humira, then I could go up to Enbrel. If Enbrel didn't work, then I could go to this other class of drugs, which is the JAK inhibitors, the JAK inhibitors, which is where I am right now. The TNP drugs were down here. And so the way that I see this working probably in the future will be that your GLP-1 will be down here, then your GLP-1 and GIP will be in the middle, and then you'll have your amylin-based drugs up this way. And with Viking Therapeutics, they do have an oral drug right now. They're looking at the subcutaneous injections as well. Before the end of this year, they plan to do a 13-week phase 3 trial alongside with the FDA on what they're calling a quadruple drug. So you've heard me talk about retatrutide and some of the other drugs being a threefer, right? So they have the Tirzepatide, they have a bone kind of density, making sure that your bones are not, deteriorating away, osteoarthritis type medicine in it. And then they also have something in there to help protect your muscle mass from also being lost, which is like a huge thing with all these weight loss drugs. You don't want to lose bone density. You don't want to lose muscle. You only really want to lose visceral and subcutaneous fat while you also maintain some of the subcutaneous fat. For my personal journey, I've noticed that I'm getting rid of subcutaneous fat, but that visceral fat is just staying in there. So if there was a way to kind of trigger the visceral fat to kind of start letting go as readily as the subcutaneous fat does, that I really feel like would be the hit home for anybody, right? This drug with Viking has the amylin, which is going to control your blood sugar. And then it has a calcitonin on this side, which is going to control the calcium that you have in your blood as well. So this is kind of a new drug that I feel like the stock market is really trying to look at, like, how are you going to prop yourself up at Viking Therapeutics against Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly when it comes to this? Like, how is it really going to play out? Because also in the past week, Eli Lilly's stock has gone down. Regardless of how popular their drug is, regardless of it being taken off of the shortage list, the stock price has gone down. What I find a little humorous in a lot of these articles from, Wall Street, from like stock people and saying like, here's what we think is happening. No one is really just coming out and like talking about the pink elephant in the room. The reason Eli Lilly stock is down is you have so many people on the compounded versions for less. So many people. There's really no one at the FDA because these compounded drugs are kind of off the FDA books a little bit. They're more on the state level, like controlled, right? There really is no FDA person or team or department that can really go in and account for how many Americans are actually on these unregulated drugs. That would kind of give more of an inclination as to why they're not on the name brand and what the name brand stock should kind of be. A lot of these stock kind of specialists, I guess you should say, that are telling people what to invest in are basically trying to say that they feel that this like weight loss trend and this weight loss like rush for everybody to go get it is over. Therefore, that's why the stock is down. And I could not disagree more because I feel like the rush is still there. The want is still there. It's just that people are paying less for the compounded versions. Speaking of now the compounded versions, you also have kind of this gray zone right now where they're really not supposed to be compounding any of it because they've been removed from the shortage list. And everyone's in this zone of like, what is the FDA going to do? Like, what are they going to do to us if we don't stop? Like, we're just going to throw a lawsuit out and hope that it sticks because we want to keep going. I watched something that someone posted the other day about how they were testing the potency of their compounds after 90 days. And something that I found very disturbing about this is that the potency of the compound after 90 days actually increased. So it was over 100%. It was like 105, 106%, which means that the longer this is sitting in a mixed solution, you're getting more than what you should be getting. And all these people are like, oh yeah, it's 105, 106% now. And this is where people are really going to start harming themselves, and we're going to have a lot of issues, because if you're getting more than what you are prescribed, or you're getting more than what you are supposed to be getting, and you don't know how fast and what is causing that potency to increase like that, there is nothing in their study that shows like what they feel the potency increase is happening. There's also nothing in their study, which is what I consider to be a stability study, right? That is showing the difference in like if it's kept out at room temperature, or if the temperature changes, or if it's kept in a refrigerator, or if something else happens to it, if it's opened versus not opened, right? If the light hits it versus the light does not hit it, because tirzepatide is actually a light sensitive amino acid chain that you are not supposed to have it exposed to light. That is why they're in the pens inside the box, and they do recommend that you store the pens inside the box. A lot of people with vials, I've seen them with their vials and their pens just like sitting out in the refrigerator. There is light in your refrigerator that comes on and can hit that solution that should not be there. I have seen some people grab these. I am considering getting these as well. It is a small kind of zip around bag. There's some that you can lock as well that have a foil inside that is going to block light from entering. I do like that idea as opposed to like the box just kind of chilling in your fridge, especially if you really don't want other people handling it, touching it, things like that. And you can also get the waterproof bag. That way if something spills in your refrigerator, it still protects your medicine. So I think this might be my next purchase, and I will link that down in the caption for everybody down below. My issue around this study was there's a pharmacy trying to claim, oh, our potency, gets better with age, or, oh, we did these stability studies around this. And you're supposed to have a third party doing those tests for you and pulling the data together for you. I also think that that's a little dangerous to put something like that out into the public, basically, because you're only testing your own compounds that you're mixing up with specifically what your additives are. And someone who doesn't really know or understand this is going to go and look at that and say, oh, okay, great. I can go ahead and buy this 6 months or this year worth that my pharmacy is offering because they're saying that it's okay. When they have different additives to theirs, it might be mixed a different way, mixed with different things. They don't do the same things. And that's something that I feel that everyone needs to really understand. And I can't reiterate enough that I feel like buying in bulk is definitely not the correct thing to do, especially after seeing that one pharmacy has even said that after 90 days that their potency is going up. Not great, okay? Not a great thing to share out there and think that it's a good thing. That's my personal opinion. I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of people down below saying otherwise, and that oh yeah, I can buy a 2.5 and it's going to be even more potent in a couple of months. That's great. I am not someone who thinks that way. I personally have been on Zepbound. You can see all of my boxes back behind me. I am on name brand. I also got my husband's benefit information this past week. We have all of the phone numbers to call everyone, and what we have on our calendar to do for this week that I will update everyone in my next video is to call our prescription services that we will have starting in January and ask them at the different tiers of insurance that are offered to us, which tiers are going to offer my medications. Not just my Zepbound, but also my Cosentyx that I have to have for my autoimmune. And then we need to weigh out which one we're going to go with because there's going to be some type of cost for us either way, out of pocket up front in the first part of the year anyway. So I do recommend that everyone ask their benefits team at work or your spouse's work or wherever you're getting insurance from to get a copy of the benefits package and review it very well. And there are phone numbers in there specifically for prescription services that you can call and ask questions like this. That way you make the right decision moving into this. One thing I also have to ask is if we do change the plan that we're on to the higher deductible plan, am I going to have to resubmit all of my prior authorizations for all of the medicines that I'm on? Once I find out those answers for my specific insurance, I'm going to have Aetna with CVS Caremark coupled with Aetna. And then there's also something called Prudent RX coupled with that as well. So there's like 3 different layers that we have to unpeel of our insurance onion here. But I will update everyone about that next week. And then you'll also see my 10 milligram injection next week. So fingers crossed for me that it goes well. I'm hoping for the best. Make sure that you put in the comments down below anything that you would like to hear more about, anything that you would like to see more of. I'm always open to any suggestions. Feel free to comment anything that you would like below. I like building a community here that can kind of bounce things off of each other and say, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? Feel free to also put links as well to any type of news. Any of the news that I went over in any of my videos will be down in the comment section from now on, just because I don't want any dings from YouTube about sending you all to some site that has some type of ad that I have absolutely no control over. You guys can always follow me on Instagram at KetosisMom or at Living Large and Lily. You can find me always during the shopping season, especially on Like to Know It at Living Large and Lily, and on Amazon at amazon.com/shop/KetosisMom. I will see you guys next week. Bye, y'all.